Welcome to Merschman Seeds Cup of Joe. On this episode, Joe and Turk lead the show. Turk has been out meeting with Merschman Seeds Dealers and checking out their fields, and talks about what he has been seeing. Our field inspectors are traveling all over the Midwest inspecting seed production fields. Joe gives an update on what they are seeing. How does technology affect agriculture? Click on the link in the description to hear what Peter Zeihan, an industry expert, says about individual plant care and the next revolution in plant production using less inputs. Click on the second link to read an article on the EPA and Bayer's communication about the Dicamba label.
Hi, this is Joe Merschman. Welcome to Merschman Seeds Cup of Joe. Today it's Turk and I. Ben is doing some local civic duties with the rodeo in Fort Madison, so he's off today. And Turk, so we'll start with you.
I've been running around the country this week, Joe, talking to dealers and looking at plots, and there's a lot of beans that are looks like they're going to be ready to turn or to be combined here in the next week. I seen fields that were completely all the leaves gone and ready to go, because there's a lot of green fields too. It really depends on what the maturity is, but there's going to be some beans hitting the market here before long, and people have an opportunity to take advantage of this early pricing that we have, and that price is going to go down very rapidly here. We know that the bean market usually bottoms out sometime that second week of October in most cases, and our prices have been working down for the last month, and just as we said, so it's going to things are going to start happening really quick in the market and in the field. I was talking to Greg Davison, our sales rep in just east of St. Louis, and he said combines are running down there, taking 17 to 21% corn out of the field. And he said haven't seen a lot of beans come out, but they're again getting very close. Look like they're ready. And he said they are seeing some tar spot down there this year, Joe. First time that they've seen tar spot in Monroe County, Illinois. It's about 50 or 60 to 100 miles south of where they've ever seen it south before. So that tar spot's continuing to move south.
And tar spot's the newest corn disease that other than fungicide, it's the only way you can control it. We don't know of any genetic resistance, and obviously the plant breeders are looking for it, but.
Right. Yep.
But that one there is very devastating to yield, and something that we'll have to pay attention to. But just in general, fungicide this year on corn, what do you think?
Well, Greg said the guys that did use fungicide and their fields are much cleaner, 10 to 15 bushels. Pretty common number on anybody that used a fungicide. So definitely paid this year, and it appears that as these diseases, late season diseases come in, it's probably going to be more and more of a planned practice than anything else.
Well, I'm seeing rust show up on a lot of this later planted corn, so I would agree. That's the stuff, these diseases, these foliar diseases, because corn plant is a solar collector. Anytime you make that solar collector less efficient, you're going to have less yield. Greg
said he was in a field and was walking through the field and come out, and he was just red from rust. So he said rust is out there as well. But again, a lot of people don't notice it this time of year because they'll see the corn start to turn a little bit and look funny, and I just think it's maturing, but in many cases it's late season diseases that's doing that.
Yeah, I remember the common term in corn genetics, dry down or die down, right?
Right.
And in some cases, die down is not necessarily a good thing.
Right. So that's kind of what I've been looking at this week, Joe.
Okay, well, we know that it's going to happen here very quickly. I know our inspectors have been out looking at production fields, and we've got some fields that we inspected. We inspect seed production fields when they get about 50% leaf drop. We look for genetic purity, general condition of the field. Those notes are out. We've got our inspectors all ready to roll. We have 4 inspectors that travel the entire Midwest, so we get a pretty good indication of what yields are going to be, and right now, things are looking pretty positive on the yields, and so that means no seed supply shortages. unlike the rest of the world, we seem like we have a shortage of everything. So COVID is not in any way affecting the seed supply.
Or the hurricane.
Yeah, or the hurricane at this point. And we can, since we brought up the hurricane, I can tell you, talking to my brother, that the damage done in New Orleans is pretty significant, and this will impact phosphate movement up the rivers. So there could be, it just depends how quick they can recover. In other words, so there could be some tightness in phosphate just because of logistics and how quick they can recover and get these on over 400 barges, I think, were either damaged or sunk down there. So there's going to be an impact showing up now from the grain export side. Everything I've read said, well, this has happened before, and the grain folks can catch up. So once they get their stuff repaired, they can catch up. So we're not seeing too much of that impact there. But the other thing I noticed this week, I follow this guy named Peter Zeihan. He's a geopolitical expert, where he basically combines all these different aspects that affect the world. But he was talking about one of the new things that's going to impact agriculture. Technology seems to be going along very rapidly. And what he's saying is the facial recognition technology that you're hearing about. Someday we'll go to the airports and just look into a screen. They'll read our retina and they'll say, "Hey, we're a good guy," and they'll let you get on the plane.
Welcome, Joe.
Yep,
welcome, Turk.
Yep. So that's where we're headed. And on that aspect, but that same technology can be used in agriculture. You might say, well, how would that technology, facial recognition, be used in agriculture? Well, any of you that have a garden, what do? You take care of individual plants. If you have a tomato plant, or you take care of it individually, a cabbage plant, or whatever it is, it's basically you take care of those plants individually. That's because you can look at them, you respond to whatever they need. Well, when you plant a 100-acre field, a farmer literally does not have a relationship with each individual plant. But with facial recognition technology, he could. And so as those sprayers go across the field, they'll recognize that this plant maybe needs a little more of this or needs that. And these sprayers and different things can do it. So for fertilizer, potentially use less fertilizer in certain areas, use more fertilizer in other areas. Same thing with weeds. In other words, you only spray a herbicide on where the weeds are at. If there's no weeds there, you would not spray any. So this technology is touted, and we're going to put this link up. You can watch the video yourself. 10 years from now, they say it has the potential to double yields. But there's some, what I would say, limitations on that. It's going to have to be done in a very broad, wide scale. It's not. So anyhow, keep an eye on that as something that's a decade away. Facial recognition for plants. So that sounds interesting.
Technology's there to do it.
That's right. So now if we can adapt it and make it pay and make the economics work. I remember when auto steer first came out,
exactly.
Or the light bar. That was revolutionary for application of herbicides, and now it's becoming more commonplace. So the other thing that came across my desk was a very good article that we've already talked about it on Cup of Joe about how the Dicamba registration for 2020 was approved in kind of a fast method. Well, this particular article has the links that you can actually look at the EPA emails and different things between the EPA and Bayer at that time when they were trying to get that registration through. And there was a big push to get that registration through. So when Trump was in Georgia, he could make the announcement about it, and because it's a swing state. And it just goes to show how the politics and science and all this stuff today makes everybody skeptical about anything, and I understand why, and it's unfortunate, but it's a great article to read. But I think the bottom line to you as a farmer, I think that there are going to be changes to the label, if there is going to be a label, and this process is all grinding through right now. When will it happen? I don't know, but I think the odds are that there's going to be some type of adjustment to the Dicamba label. And I know a lot of farmers this year that have used the Enlist soybean technology really like it, and they are very positive about it, and they're going to plant more. And market share numbers looks like they're going to be a minimum of 35% of the market share this year was Enlist E3, maybe even a little bit higher. And we got a lot of big players now promoting the technology, so I think we're going to be more prevalent out there for our acres. And so it's going to be harder and harder for Dicamba folks to deal with some of the off-target movement. I think the northern areas are going to be the ones that are going to move quicker to Enlist E3 more so than the southern areas. Southern areas, where they have cotton, and 2,4-D is still a pretty serious problem. So time will tell, but this is a great article. If you really want to dig into it, look at the links and see exactly how political this registration was at the time.
Of course, Brazil, Bayer Monsanto pulled that post-emergence application in Brazil a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
And so
we talked about that.
No reason to expect that isn't going to happen here as well.
All we're saying is when you make your seed decision, you better have an Enlist option, is what we're saying, if you want weed control. Now, the other thing I picked up this past week, I was talking to one of our dealers in Eastern Illinois, and he says, Liberty, the glufosinate is pretty much non-existent in the supply chain right now. And in fact, he said he's a very big dealer, and he said we got down to 150 gallon to end up the season. And so glufosinate, make sure you get that lined up early this year, and
in your shed,
and where you can see it. So we're giving you a really early indicator of that product. When you empty the pipeline, will the pipeline get filled back up? So in general, I think this is the year that you want to line your inputs up early. You want to get things done. You may not have the opportunity to shop around and twist a little bit. It may be a question of whether you're going to get the stuff, and deal with reliable suppliers. I mean, if you've been dealing with somebody for the last 20, 30 years, I'm sure they're going to take care of you. So anyhow, those are things that concern us, and if they concern us, they definitely should concern you. Well, as you know, I haven't made the last two episodes. I had a little R&R, and when it comes to the jokes, I know you probably miss me. I'm sure too.
Well, yep.
Ben didn't even make it today, so I know. So
we can pick on Ben.
Yeah, we can pick on Ben a little bit. No, right now he's working harder than he would if he worked here with the rodeo thing. He's one of the top guys there. He's a glutton for punishment, is what I'd say. But he does a great job for the rodeo, and as well as many other volunteers to make that a local success. So I'm going to give you a bonus joke, this week. First one, I'm going to start them out slow, and then I'll try to build up to the best one. Okay. What type of bird can eat an entire barn in one night? What type of bird can eat an entire barn in one night? And I told this one to Marlis. Bam, she gave me the answer. Farm girl, she knew it. A barn swallow.
Oh, okay.
Okay, right? Yep, that makes sense.
Yep.
Now, this one here is about a new employee. He was leaving the office at the end of his first day, and he saw the big boss standing by the paper shredder with a very confused look on his face. The boss noticed the new employee and asked, "Do you know how to use this?" "This document I have has a lot of important confidential information on it." "Why, yes," said the young man. And he took the document from the boss, turned on the machine, and began shredding. "Great," said the boss. "I need 3 copies.
Oh, boy.
All right. You know how we like our bar jokes. At least I do, anyhow. Okay. 3 vampires walk into a bar. First one says, "I'll have a pint of blood." The second one says, "I'll have one too." Third one says, "I'll have a pint of plasma." The bartender says, "So that'll be 2 bloods and a Blood Light." Now that one's kind of funny.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for tuning in this week. We appreciate your business. We know harvest is just around the corner. You're going to be very busy. Be safe, get your rest, and we'll see you next week. Take care.
Thanks for listening to Merschman Seeds Cup of Joe.